So moving on now to now we're gonna get into some heaviness, way, some heavy
Uh,
sci-fi, some
yeah,
heavy
we'll have a
fantasy.
parallel. We got have a parallel kind of review something because it's two of them related to each other, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, yeah.
So we'll talk about
In a rather interesting way, in
yeah,
interesting ways, I should say. So we'll start
yeah,
things off with Alex Garland's second feature film,
right,
Annihilation.
right,
I know this is
uh,
not the Mortal Kombat Annihilation
right. I
remake
so
that we've all wanted to see, but
right.
anyway, continue.
So yeah, so I actually a big fan of this guy. His first movie I was one of my favorites.
Yeah,
I think
actually, this
it was
was your favorite movie of
for,
2015.
right,
Mine was Mad Max Fury Road, but
right.
and just slight little detour. I rewatched Ex Machina. That's the name of the show. So I rewatched that before I watched Annihilation.
Annihilation.
And
Right.
yes, the movie does hold up a lot. The
Yeah.
performances were great. The themes, is really the
Yeah.
subject matter I really love. This is
Right.
idea of artificial intelligence being
Right.
smarter than human beings. I just
Right.
that parallel, with that.
I just but what else you see what I liked about it is it not only was it very conscientious in terms of the writing and the thematic elements, but it one of the big more interesting things about it is not so much about worrying about artificial intelligence, but the kind of a person it takes to build one of these things.
Ah,
I
okay, okay,
really enjoyed that. So they got into that aspect of his mental state going through the film because
right. Oscar
it's a
Isaac's character.
Oscar
Yeah.
Isaac's character is Nathan, yeah, because it's implied that he had some kind of controlled form of madness that he engaged himself in just to pull it off. And there's some really, really important sequences and conversations, especially the part where he references Jackson Pollock.
Yes, with that
Uh,
patent, right?
yeah, it's one of the best parts of the film for me.
Yeah, I
The movie
love
has,
that part actually. I love
yeah,
that scene.
the movie has a couple, yeah, and it's his work in violence, the kind of things he has to go through to make this thing. Then there's this really hilarious but bizarre dancing sequence.
I know, right?
That really
Yeah,
works because especially when the context of it's really dark and disturbing if you in the full context of the film.
yeah.
And
Especially
uh,
from a gender perspective.
right,
Or
it's
the way how
unusual.
Oscar Isaac's character views women. You know.
Right, right. But that's the one thing I didn't care for the film with is that I didn't like it. It fell victim to a couple of cliches that I didn't love all that much. But the good fully outweighs the bad. And I have a couple of plot problems with the movie as well, involving key cards. Some of the key cards thing didn't really make much sense to me
Oh,
when you think
I
about
understand
it.
what you mean, yeah.
Right,
Well, I mean, honestly, I did not love the movie as much as you did. I
right,
felt that it kind of still, and it still kind of ultimately comes down to, oh, well, what's the difference between humanity and, artificial intelligence, what
right,
makes a human human, so it's
right,
all these profound themes, but they just kind of add up to something simple and basic, which we'll
right,
get to with the next movie that we're going to talk about. Just like
right.
a little spoiler here.
Yeah, and but so just to finish off an Ex Machina quick,
Uh-huh.
he could I can imagine the script could have done one slight little rewrite to put it over the top, but it didn't have that. But I still like what it did with it, and the good severely outweighs the bad in that film for me,
Yeah.
um, overall.
Right.
But yeah,
Just one last thing I want to say about Ex Machina, and
right,
just looking at it again, the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects that they won is rightfully deserved though. Like just looking at it
oh yeah,
again
yeah,
because
it's really subtle,
yeah,
really
when
subtle. You
it
don't know,
won, I was disappointed because I felt that there were better movies out there that deserved it. But then looking at it
right?
again, is like I said, how subtle these
Yeah,
effects were. Because I
if
watched a
I
little behind the scenes stuff
yeah,
of it. I
if
was
I
like, wow,
remember
okay,
correctly,
yeah.
if I remember correctly, is the first female visual director for CG, I think, or something along those lines.
I
If I
believe
remember
yeah,
correctly.
that's what happened. Yeah.
Right,
Well,
right.
that's the
Yeah.
the aspect about it.
But yeah, it totally works. It's a movie that is yeah, as I said, the good outweighs the bad in my opinion. Overall, and yeah, I was really excited for any future projects he decided to do. Yeah, and he decided to pick a book for his second project. Uh, that's well, Annihilation. I have not read this book at all, but from
I
what I
have not
understand,
either.
yeah, from what I understand, this movie is not that in line with the book. From what I
Yeah,
heard,
and this
I don't.
book, well, actually, it's a
But I
trilogy in particular called the Southern Reach trilogy.
right,
It's written
right.
by Jeff Vandermeer.
Right. So I don't know what's going on with it, and I'm not gonna even reference the book at all because I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna judge from what I watch in the movie.
and we do
I
have
love it.
to worry. We will get into minor spoilers. We'll be careful not
Right.
to go too far with it.
Right.
Right. So Basically, it starts off with this meteor that lands on Earth, but what it does, it doesn't land directly on Earth. It lands just before it hits a lighthouse, right?
Right.
And then weird bubble, a large, gigantic bubble springs up from it. And
Right.
inside that bubble, there is like all manners of life, a lot of flora and fauna. But also there are like these genetically altered creatures, well, animals, I should say.
Right.
Some that
Well, everything is altered.
yeah,
It's not to say-
everything is altered from
everything is
from
altered, not
flowers
just,
to
everything.
animals and stuff like that. So
Right.
it's like a cross between like different, not just different species, but also evolutionary periods, right? So you see
Right.
different stuff kind of merged together. So it's established that this military team went in. A majority of them went crazy and killed themselves. A lot of like crazy stuff happened, but one person survived, and this person, well, survived, quote unquote. But this
Right.
person just so happens to be Oscar Isaac again, who
Yeah,
plays the
yeah.
character
Yeah,
of Cain. So he returns home. He visits his wife, Lena, who's played by Natalie Portman. She was under the belief, I believe it was like for a year or so. I believe it was.
Yeah, roughly a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
roughly a year that her husband died. So
Right.
well, she was also a former soldier as well. They met in the military, but today
Right.
she is a biologist at this university. So he
Right.
shows up, and she's wondering what has happened, and he's all like, well, I don't know. He has
Right.
no clue basically about what happened. And then one day, this mysterious group of people basically capture the two of them, bring them
Right.
into
Well,
this research facility.
he was sick. He was sick for some reason.
Right.
And then the military, essentially, well, some Black Ops type unit,
Yes.
encounter them and grab them essentially.
Yeah. They bring them to this facility basically, and Lena meets a person by the name of Dr. Ventress, who is played by Jennifer Jason Leigh. Haven't seen her in a film in quite some time, and she basically explains what's going on. Well, what happened with the bubble and all that kind of stuff. So she basically is organizes expedition with a group of women this time. So it's not men, it's not soldiers.
Right.
It's just a group
Right.
of women, a paramedic, a physicist, a geologist.
Right.
And well, Dr. Ventures is coming along too, so it's like, well,
Right.
yeah, Lena, we want you to come along as well.
Right.
And it's kind of established with these characters here that they are going through really bad stuff in their lives. So to them, it's like, well, they have nothing to lose. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well. Like just getting these people who kind of don't have anything to lose anymore because life is kind of bad for them. So it's like, well, yeah, you know what? We kind of expendable. We know that we are expendable, and the government, well, the military knows that they're expendable anyway. So it's like, let's just send them off to go into this place. And this place in particular is called the Shimmer. The reason why it's called that is because that actual bubble, and then when you go inside, like if you look at the sky itself, it has this kind of oil slick kind of shimmer going on.
Yeah, it was dubbed by the first people to encounter it. I think it was like some local fishermen or something like that. They decided to call it that, so that's where the name stuck.
Yeah. So while they're there, they do encounter some some really fantastic, amazing stuff, but they also encounter some genuinely horrifying stuff. And then it just basically goes into, well, we could jump into the review here. So it just basically goes into themes of, well, like similar to Ex Machina, the idea of being human, what makes us human, but it goes way further into that. It really talks about
it gets into ideas of I think there's a lot of subtext with this. I remember when I was talking to you about it before seeing the film. Remember I mentioned Tarkovsky.
Yes.
It has a Tarkovsky vibe to everything.
It does, especially if you've seen films like well, unfortunately, yes, I know I'm a big movie buff, but no, I have not seen Stalker yet. It's in my to-watch list. But I have seen Solaris. And this film really does remind me a lot of Solaris. Not just with the emphasis on, the external shots, a lot of nature shots as well, like what Solaris had, a lot of, fauna and stuff like that, but just the themes basically. The ideas of these characters going through, it's just all this, like a lot of existential, it has this really existential nature about this the story.
There's a lot of angst in this film. And it works in the sense of the when you learn the backstory of all these characters, or how they get into this and why they connected to what a lot of it kind of works. It gets into the characterization that works reasonably well, in my opinion. But I would have preferred a little more world building, just to establish them a little better in the world and justify why they're there necessarily. So the paramedic,
I'd agree too, yeah.
The paramedic was a little bit of a stretch. Like, I can understand the others, and then, well, in the case of Natalie Portman's character, she there because of the husband, but like that didn't really tie in together why they would have her going.
Yeah.
Another problem I had was,
right.
It's never. I don't know if I blink or something, but it's never. I didn't think it was particularly well established why it was a team of women and why that team. Now, it being a team of women isn't an issue with me. It's just because all of them were professionals anyway. The issue is that, well, why it is you couldn't bring more soldiers or had a bigger team amongst them? Like, I find just having 5 was a problem for me. Like, I would have bring like at least a dozen. It'd be them and then maybe 7 soldiers or something like that. And then
that makes perfect sense actually.
Right.
You have them basically doing the scientific stuff while you have the military.
So that's what. But what you gotta do with it, just and it would make it more eerie, is that when they now gone in, they'll lose all the time. Remember, they lost like 4 days unconsciously, and then them 7 soldiers gone missing too.
Yeah.
Like, they could have do that. So it's like, oh, where are all the soldiers? And all of them gone. And then it's implied, okay, for some reason the other women could survive a little longer, maybe, but it's not specific to women at all. It has nothing to do with that.
No.
So I was unclear as to why it was this particular team being assembled. Just a little more world building could have justified that, or just a couple of script rewrite changes line wise. Better throwaway lines to justify why it is this team is this team.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because I find it was just also convenient that you have Gina Rodriguez's character, she's the paramedic. You have Tessa Thompson's character, she's the physicist, for example, putting up the hands and saying, yeah, let's go here. It's always like, we need to, but like, why would you put up your hand and say you want to go into this strange, mysterious bubble, where it has been established, and you do know beforehand people came in but only one man came out. That was kind of weird. But the whole idea of them not having anything to lose because they went through a lot of stuff in their lives, that's kind of interesting, like, thematically. But I do wish that they could have like established that a lot better, a lot more actually. Right.
Another thing is that, and this is again the bad out to the wafers. Another problem is that, well, some people I heard people complain about pacing before it. I understood where they were coming from, but to me it was part of the aesthetic and serving the purpose of the story. Because the whole thing is that you had to you're playing with a lot of things like time and memory.
Yes. And
a lot of that works for me in general, which is, okay, things have to be slow and then fast, and you're not expecting. The whole point is the unexpected. Is that you're not supposed to understand, and they're not supposed to understand either. Mm-hmm. So when it's time for them it doesn't matter how brilliant they are. When it's time for them to figure things out, this shimmer thing just keep throwing them curveball after curveball.
Yeah.
That really messing with them now. And I thought that worked pretty film. So I didn't think it was that big of a complaint, but I understand why I could imagine a film having better pacing. So, or faster pacing, I should say. I don't think it's better pacing necessarily.
Right. Well, for me though, I felt that the first act was slow compared to the other two. Because once again you're establishing the story, and for me I was kind of wondering, okay, so how is Natalie Portman's character going, how do you set up her going into the shimmer, what's going on here? And then with something which really caught me off guard, because I just went in just knowing only it's this team of women going inside this place and they're being attacked by weird creatures. That's all I know. But I didn't expect the subplot with Lena and her husband coming back and all that kind of stuff, and then time spent showing their relationship together, these flashbacks and stuff like that. I'll talk about the flashbacks in a bit. And then also this supposed love interest in the form of one of the other lecturers at the university as well. Just those little things that I was kind of wondering, okay, well, where are we gonna get to the Annihilation, where we're gonna get to what we paid money to see? And then as the stuff happened and they end up in the facility and they learn more and they actually went into the shimmer, it's like, oh, okay, now the story really began. But I felt like the setup was rather slow. They could have sped it up a little bit.
Right, but again, it's silver food, because the film is so subtextual. and heavily leaning on the subtextual for you to appreciate it. I didn't really mind any of that because I knew what it was. Like I didn't get any. At no point I got the sense that there's supposed to be this straightforward story, right?
Okay.
I know a lot of it had to be interpretive and whatnot. And again, the Tarkovsky stuff keeps coming back in my mind. By the time it reached within a certain premise, because the shimmer, and the shimmer is essentially magic, like because it's so alien, which is another thing I really appreciated. This thing is so alien, and it messing with you on such a fundamental level. It's essentially a cellular level, a genetic level. You can't really make logical decisions because that in itself is a trap.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it worked for the most part with respect to her character. It's like a working disastrous fever dream.
Right.
And everything builds up to the ending, and the finale I think is really, really strong. That's where everything comes to a hilt when two characters get to the lighthouse under different circumstances, and it susses itself out in a really visually engaging but super disturbing way.
Yeah, boy. I totally agree with you because
but
like while I was just in awe of what I was seeing, and just being bombarded by that musical score, which gets even freakier and more abrasive in that climax, in my opinion. I just couldn't keep my eyes off them visuals, but those were while I would say the visuals for this movie as a whole is like so jaw dropping and so gorgeous, so amazing. When it works, when it's there, when it serves its purpose, it does what it's supposed to do. But I felt with that climax alone, but it was just so like sensory overload for me, but and then of course you add the music, and then in my head me just trying to figure out what in God's name is going on. It worked. But I do see some people kind of looking at that and just as a whole and call it like just being pretentious and just what's the point of it?
That's the thing with it, because that whole section, because here's the reason why I appreciated that section, because again, A, is really engaging, but B, the whole point of it is that, remember this thing, so alien, it really genuinely is alien. It kind of reminds me of the proto-molecule from I don't know if you watch it. Well, you don't watch it, but I just watch it a lot. One of my favorite shows, The Expanse. It kind of reminds me of that, which is you have something that you're not sure how advanced it is, but it could be super simple at the same time. It's not a weapon, you're not really sure, but it seems to be intelligent, or at least it figures out a way to latch on to actual intelligence.
Okay, so on the subject of that question, so slight spoiler. So the creature that forms, right? It just kind of forms based off of what it assumes it's supposed to be. It's supposed to look at, or it just kind of consciously decided to be how it looks, or unconsciously, like how. But that's the thing.
You're not because everything. Remember, Tessa Thompson says that what's operating not in terms of, it's not just biology it's affecting physics as well. So you're not sure if it's a product of physics or biology in terms of this device now. Because you keep saying it's a creature intelligence, but it don't have to be. It could just be a weapon, and it's just everything is just building off of life that it encountering on Earth now.
Right.
It could be anything. It could be a tool. It could be anything. We're not sure. And I like now again, I don't know the books, so I don't know what they're even talking about or what is being talked about here. But I just like the idea of just this alien thing that nobody could make sense of. And even if you try to encounter it, you can't make sense of it. And when Tessa Thompson's character talking about the refraction stuff, or everything it's just this big blender of information essentially that they're inside now. And it is blend on several levels. It's blend not only on a genetic level, but a molecular level, and even a phenomenological level, I should, for lack of a better term, because like there's this excellent sequence involving a bear.
Oh boy, that is hands down probably one of the most disturbing things I've seen in a movie all year. It is just wow.
But when you see those mechanics play itself out, it's like, oh shit, everything just bouncing about logic wise now. And again, if it was more like it being a sci-fi, it still works because it really feels like fantasy stuff when you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, when Tessa Thompson describes slight spoilers, she describes the phenomenon of refraction, right? And think about how light refracts within imagine you're locked within a crystal, how light can really get out, but it kind of gets out sometimes, some of it can't.
I thought that was a great concept though that she brought the idea of the prism.
Yeah, the metaphor, that metaphor works quite well for what is going on, especially on a genetic level.
Yes.
And you start making statements. Again, I'm not going to fight down the science of that, because that's not the point. The whole point is that it's supposed to be alien and not supposed to understand it. And that when that, especially the last sequence involving Oscar Isaac and well involving her, what went on with that last piece, that whole sequence was just an engaging European kind of sequence.
Yeah.
That's it. And the movie works. So yeah, I don't really have much else to say, interpretation wise, because we could go all over the fucking place with that.
Yeah, we could.
But I just want to give him a rating quick, and I'll just give him my final assumption until you could talk.
All right. Well, yeah, there's just a few things I want to say before we get to rating, right? So right. the kind of half good, half bad, right? Cause we mentioned some bad, we mentioned a bit of good, but some little gripes that I had, right? For one thing, right. The advertising for this kind of made me feel like this is going to be like this year is the thing, something where is these humans going into this weird world, and these creatures kind of attacking them, and we're not sure what is what and who is who, and the kind of plays of that I felt like the second act, felt like this, like the whole monster thing that we expected to see from the trailer itself now. But then the third act just went into some whole Taranowski stuff. There's this idea of existence and creation and evolution and all these things, especially something that happens to Jennifer Jason Leigh's character that still to this moment I can't really describe, or I don't really understand what happened or why it happened. It just kind of happened. I was like, what? Yeah. But and then I'll just go into the next thing, because some people would argue and say, well, it has to do with the characters themselves, what they're going through personally, because for one thing, we're following Natalie Portman, and one technique that they do, although I would actually say this, I'll go out of my way to say this, it kind of felt like they was ripping off Arrival, this whole flashback, flash forward thing kind of technique. But like I get what they was trying to do, but I can't good conscience say that. Arrival again. It felt like that to me. Right. And silly me actually was thinking they were going to go all Arrival with it, where the flashbacks would actually mean something or lead to something. And oftentimes they don't, unfortunately. It's just one aspect about Natalie Portman's character, but I felt they could have gone a little bit deeper to kind of make sense of what's going on. To me, I kind of saw it as like emotional evolution. Like, okay, she was with her husband here, and now she's with this other person here, and she could move on with this other person, but it's like, no, I can't. So maybe she needs to move on, but maybe she can't anyway. That kind of thing. That then when you think about the creatures themselves that they do encounter, most of them being, just goddamn terrified, especially that bear thing. That's like the stuff of nightmares, right? It's just the idea of it evolving to something, and how it evolves based off what it's almost like it's stuck halfway into evolution in a way, and even though it's weird evolution, it just kind of gets stuck. No, but that's the point. It's not evolution necessarily, because it's just again the refraction analogy and information. So it's more like it doesn't. That's what I was thinking as evolution. It just kind of changes into something. Right. But that's the thing. The book. Well, again, the idea of refraction, and she's saying it evolving constantly, but it's more like a constant genetic expression. If you understand that point. All right. So is it based off of the environment? Because I think they do mention it off of like someone's fear kind of caused something to become the way it is. So I'm wondering if it's like a response to it. It's just phenomenological, like events occurring and could splice into other events because of the Shimmer thing. Like that Shimmer thing could do fucking anything kind of, because if anything that you could think of could mix up now because of that. Okay. So that's why stuff like that with the mind and the thoughts and these ideas mixing into that now. Right. Again, the bear thing kind of said it, but at the same time, the bear thing was so goddamn disturbing. But it make it work, It's a really damn good scene, Jeez. Like I said, the stuff of nightmares. You've been but it was pretty damn cool. Yeah. And that's another in the mid to the mid stuff, the mid level stuff. The characters themselves though, like the this film itself is bleak, just incredibly bleak, but something about the way how these characters are, especially with like Tessa Thompson, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Gina Rodriguez, and to an extent Natalie Portman. Right. These characters, I don't want to say they don't come off human, but there's something off about them. Like for one thing, like Tessa Thompson, the way how she talks, and then what happens to her, it's almost like she has this kind of weird kind of, it's almost alien in a sense. I'm not too sure. But I'll defend that. So for me,
I want again. This is a comparison to Wrinkle in Time, and this is already parallel to Wrinkle in Time. We're
Right.
going to talk about.
There's
Right?
just one thing before I forget, and then slight spoiler. What happens to Gina Rodriguez? Her meltdown, which for
Right,
me
right, right.
came out of left field. I didn't see it coming. I was like,
Right.
wait, what? Okay.
No, right,
continue.
yeah, well, it makes sense in terms of, well, we kind of had a piece together with respect to that. But again, we had to do too much spoilers to see what it was. What I got the sense that they established is that how all of these women have a particular pathology, and it's a pathology that is not unique to women, but very overwhelmingly representative of women of feminine pathology. And so she mentioned the idea of quote unquote damaged goods.
Right.
And I thought that fed into the film quite well. Now, I would have preferred the film establish that a little better.
Agreed.
But it still characterization wise fed into what was going on. And it could kind of understand how they would go, well, for lack of a better term, they'll go insane in their own way for the story,
Right.
in the sake of the story, and what is the exploits that this Shimmer thing could exploit their own psychology, especially what is being changed and manipulated, and the mindsets it takes in to go forward, especially because they did a big reveal with one of the characters. This is Jennifer Jason Leigh's character. When BD Wong was mentioned, he mentioned something. I was like, oh shit, that real changed she though. Like we didn't know that at all, and well, it's related to something that Natalie Portman does, right, in the beginning.
Yeah.
And so all of that was pretty cool for me, but it's something that doesn't really tie in necessarily. But again, more world building could have fixed that. Right. But the whole idea of pathology, and this is why I wanted to get into the idea, the link with respect to this movie, is that it has a little bit of a feminist perspective kind of stuff. I get that from it.
Mm-hmm.
A little feminist sci-fi, in the sense that it's not an action, and it's not action, or it's not a clear solution to the problem. It's more how you're going to absorb the problem and then solve it from an emotional standpoint, and address it in that way. Right? That is to me, that's almost overwhelmingly a feminine approach to problem solving. It's clearly not the engineering problem. It's not the man shoot things or
not the predator approach. If it moves,
right. It's not
the wild bunch approach.
But
if it moves,
I was thinking of that because they had this really cool part I liked where she saw this big M60 and then she mentioned it's too heavy, I can't use it. I like that.
Yeah.
Right. That makes sense to me. Right. Even though she's a badass, she understands the limits. Mm-hmm. Little stuff like that. Yeah. And you get to see what happened to the men. There's involving some mold, which look really freaky and awesome. That's some great set design. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
You get to see what happened to Oscar Isaac, which is a huge big part of the story. It's like, okay, I expect the reveal. I kind of saw the reveal coming, but it was still cool when it happened.
I didn't actually. That caught me off guard.
Then the ending with Natalie Portman, with what happened to her, and you're not sure what's going on in the end. And with the last shot, you're not too clear what's going on there. I actually like that as well. Again, the unclearness and thing just totally fit into the narrative and the mystery of the movie. I can see some people not appreciating this, but I'm gonna give him a rating now.
Well, that's what I say, because I have to talk about the good. I'll just make it quick, right? So the
good,
the acting is solid throughout. I thought that the writing was decent for the most part, but really the main thing that I took away from this show is the ambition. The mere fact that in this day and age, you can make films that are challenging. We said this before with last year's Mother. You can make films that are intelligent, that are daring. That will make people discuss. What went on. They're not gonna understand everything in it, but that's the point about that. I love that about this show.
Well, there's a lot to unpack, but none of it, very very little of it feels pretentious.
That's the thing,
right?
And I know some
it doesn't
people
feel like
will
it's just a waste of time.
Yeah, a lot of people would think that it is, but I don't think so at all. I think this is one that it's specifically designed to be this way. And hate it or love it, this is one that you're not gonna forget in a hurry. I'm not sure if this is if you'll want to see it again after. I personally want to see it again. I don't mind
giving this one a second watch, because it deserves a rewatch or two just to see what it is focusing on, or what I should be tuning into. To see where, because it's a big character piece. Let's just not forget that. Yes, you want to solve the mystery of what's going on with the Shimmer, blah blah blah, but it's because of the nature of the Shimmer, it feeds back into the characterization.
Right.
Then especially with the ending.
Yes.
That ending is really fascinating on its own, right?
Yeah.
And it leaves a lot of interesting questions to be asked.
Right. And last things last, though, I would say just in closing, as far as Alex Garland movies go, I know this is his second movie in but to me, this is a gradual step up from Ex Machina,
Oh, really? Okay.
not just in ideas and themes, but just in sheer ambition. Though this is
Right.
probably the most ambitious movie that he has done ever. It is the most ambitious movie he has done in his career thus far, and
Right.
I really hope that he continues within that genre of sci-fi. Just
Yeah.
continue to challenge and really present more profound themes now. But in an entertaining way, like we can't go to the Andrei Tarkovsky era. We can't go with the art house sci-fi anymore.
Right.
I'm not sure if there's going to be an audience for it here now. But I'm glad that he was able to put a movie out like this.
Right.
I know for sure this is going to show up in a lot of best year of the films.
It
Best
may, yeah.
films of
But
the year. Sorry,
I'm
but
seeing-
this at the moment, well, maybe this at the moment is like an honorable mention. But I have a feeling with a few more views, this could make it to my list, man. This could.
it's
It could.
possible that
Yeah.
because I found myself I found myself really digging it.
That's
really,
the
really.
thing. Like I was thinking about it for hours after I saw it.
Yeah.
I know you did as well, and that's just a testament, not just
Right.
to great writing. Well, great
Right.
enough writing, but great filmmaking as well, man. So I
Right,
applaud
yeah.
that. So
Yeah,
jump in the ratings one time, man.
Right, rated. I'm gonna give this the highest sub movie tongues.
All right,
It,
nice.
yeah. It doesn't make the IMAX. It's not the blockbustery thing. You're not supposed to give it the answers. It's not supposed to be the big entertainment. But it's a nice, decent slow burn. A lot of it works. A lot of it feeds back into itself quite well, and not without being pretentious or head up your ass kind of thing. And
Thank
I was digging a lot of this, especially that last sequence.
Oh, boy.
And
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
what the consequences of that might be. You're not sure what's going on at the end there, right?
Yeah.
And I thought a lot of this was pretty cool. A lot of the good is really good, and it outweighs the bad. The little small flaws is not a big deal. I overall really like this film. Marvel is a rewatch. Is something that I might be talking about for a long time to come. I'm gonna make the effort to now look for these books now, and try to suss out what the world building is, so I can be a little more informed in this world and where the author's mind is, right, in terms of what he want to do or see.
Right.
And yeah, for the most part, I really like this. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I give this a really high, very, very high movie tone.
Okay, well, for me, I would give this. Initially I had it at a light 4, but the more I think about it, I'm gonna give this a decent 4 to 5 stars. This is not this is not an easy film to digest. This is one that you will have to sit down and decode and just decipher after you've seen it, because there's just so much going on, thematically, emotionally, just a lot of things, a lot, just some disturbing moments as well. That base scene that we mentioned, that is like probably one of the scariest, freakiest things I've seen in a movie all year.
It's pretty clever, and it's such a novel idea, and especially with the world building. It's like, all right, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was like on some anime, some Akira level kind of stuff. That's all I was saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But is the sheer ambition of it that really amazed me about this film, though. Just the idea to just go in and just make a movie like this, something that will challenge viewers, not just give them easy answers and tell them, here's the answer, guys. It's something that you're gonna think about. And I'm not saying that all of the answers gonna come in time, but I hope that I do figure out everything. But just like the great sci-fi films of the past, you're still not gonna understand everything neither. But for me, I hope that's incentive enough for me to go back and watch this movie again and again. I have a feeling that this movie will have longevity, especially with people who do appreciate the film. But for those who haven't, who think it's pretentious, well, just see it once, think it's garbage, and move on. But if that's your point of view, that's fine. But for me, I think this is definitely one that you should check out at least once. Just go in with expectations low. Try not to watch any trailers or read up any spoilers or anything about it.
Right, yeah, you gotta go in blind with this.
Go in blind with this, and I guarantee when you come out of this, you'll just be like, whoa, I just need to learn more about this. So yeah, decent 4 to 5 for me for Annihilation. And now, oh boy, last but certainly not least, boy, that movie, boy.
Yeah.
A Wrinkle in Time.
All right.
Directed by Ava DuVernay. This is her first big budget movie. I wouldn't really call Selma a big budget film, but it really did put her on the map. It was a great biopic. I really enjoyed it. That song
Right.
"Glory" from John Legend and Common, love that song. Glad it won the Academy Award.
Right.
13th, really enjoyed that film as well.
Yeah.
It actually made it to my top 16, I think was the top 16 list.
Yeah.
Um, Unfortunately, it didn't win Best Documentary Feature. It went to my top movie of 2016, which
OJ.
was OJ Made in America. But
Yeah.
yeah, still 13th was a damn excellent documentary, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, with this one here, with A Wrinkle in Time, there's a lot going for it. For one thing, this is the first live action film with a 9-digit budget to be
Wow.
directed by a woman of color.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, another big selling point for this, the diverse female cast in this.
Right.
So for one thing, we have the icon, you know, my dream mother. If I was American and rich, and privileged, I guess. Oprah Winfrey.
Right.
We have Reese Witherspoon. We have McGill, Mindy Kaling. She's in this too.
Yeah.
Gugu Mbatha-Raw, I believe that's how you pronounce her name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who we last saw in that god awful Cloverfield
Yeah.
Paradox movie. Still
Right.
hate that movie. And the introduction of Storm Reed. I haven't
Okay.
seen her in anything. I think I think this is her debut feature film.
Right. Okay.
Oh wait,
I
no,
don't.
actually, my bad. She was in Slight. That was the movie that,
Right.
that I
Yeah.
talked about last year.
I think she was in.
She was the sister to the
Right.
lead character.
Was she? I think she was in 12 Years a Slave. You know?
Yes, she was
Oh.
actually. Just looking at the Wikipedia page right now.
Okay,
She does
okay,
not have a
okay,
picture of her. Though. Like, what the hell? What's going on here? It's like she had to make a few more movies to have a picture or something. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah. So as we all know, it's from Walt Disney Pictures, and something I didn't even know. I actually found out about this after I saw the movie. Is that this
Right.
is not the first time they adapted. Well, yes. For those who don't know, it's actually based off of a very popular 1962 novel,
Old book.
same
Yeah.
name, from
And
Madeline
that is the
Lingle, I
one thing.
believe that's how I pronounce the name. I love to read that book though, because I've actually
Right.
heard about how great and how iconic a book. Maybe not as iconic as all that, but I heard that it's a great children's book. So I really
Right.
would
But
love to read it.
that's the whole working thing is that this was. Yeah. This was John Carter all over again for me.
Yeah, but before we get into to that, yeah, so it was made as a Disney TV movie.
Yeah.
I saw a
remember
little
that.
piece of the trailer. It looked like your average Disney TV show
Yeah.
at the
Pretty
time.
much. Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're familiar with their shows back then.
Yeah.
But just before we jump into what it's about, yeah, I would agree with you, boy. It is another John Carter movie again.
Right.
This very
Same. Almost
big
all the
budget,
same.
very ambitious movie, but something that just came out way too late. And one thing, just like with John Carter, it's one of those books that many fans and people would argue it's
Right.
something that's very hard. You can't adapt this to film at all. Like you would
Right.
say, like Great Gatsby is a perfect example. You cannot adapt that into film. They've tried, and
Right.
they kind of missed the mark quite a few times, especially with that Leo DiCaprio version one. But that's another story. But yeah, boy, just like John Carter, this is one where they just take this old book, this old beloved book, really try
Yeah.
to adapt it for a new audience, and I will talk about that with my thoughts on the film. But yeah, boy, this is another one. This is another, like, I'll use your term here, Ricardo. Another noble failure, boy.
Yeah. Right.
Another noble failure.
Right. I'll put it in that camp a little bit.
Yeah,
This.
but I just want to jump into what the story is about.
Right. Yeah. So what about? So basically, it's about this scientist played by Captain Kirk, himself,
Mr. Chris Pine
Uh,
himself.
Miss Chris Pine. Right. He's a astrophysicist or something like that, and he solved some ultimate answer, some ultimate question. That apparently he could do with his transport to something quantum, and it's theorized that you might have some transportability with your mind and something
Yeah,
quantum.
it's all in the
So-
mind, man.
Right,
So easy, man.
Right. And then so he went missing, vanished.
For 4
Uh,
years, actually.
You're right. And so the daughter was clamped about the whole thing. She had a problem with that. She in trouble with school because of this, and which I didn't really understand because why they giving her so much shit for something that she have no whatever.
Yeah.
And is a lot of it is very emotional. And then the mother, I think it's Google was playing the mother.
Yes.
She had to go she had to go. Well, somebody appear in her backyard. This is the big powerful entities, and she basically whisked away to find the father, and that is the big story on arc more or less.
Yeah, nice, simple enough.
Right.
Sorry, not consensus. Synopsis of the
right.
film.
And that's this story. So they explain the world building and the worlds and what this does and the other. And as I say, it's like John Carter. It doesn't really represent a lot of what the book tried to do, and it doesn't adapt particularly well.
Yes. Well, actually, from what I've heard from fans of the book, this was a poor adaptation of the book. It more or less skipped out certain things. There was some unicorn character, something like that. Some of the worlds they just kind of skim past. It didn't really, like in the book, from if I'm not mistaken, there is one particular world that is a huge emphasis in the book, but in the movie, just kind of just pass by it, like
pass
so
over
quickly.
it, yeah. And so Stormbreed character now, she's the main character, and it does a lot right in terms of the story of her characterization, because to compare it to, this is where the parallel with Annihilation comes in, which is it's a very feminist perspective kind of story.
Yeah.
Right. You can't really do this with boys organization. In fact, the way how this plays out for me, it really plays out like, I think I think this guy Movie Bob made the point about this. He says it's almost as if they took a 13-year-old kid.
Oh yeah, like, I remember that. I love that analogy, by the way.
And then say, and that's what really felt like when I was watching this. Like, that's what it feels like. It's not for a guy like me, and I'm not sure if that's pro or against the film. And it really doesn't cater to my kind of sensibilities when it comes to science fiction. Because one of the things they do, there's a lot of science in this, but the science doesn't really like connect. Because that's the difference between fantasy and science fiction on average. Right? Mechanisms are the same. However, what you do is the science fiction tends to be more reductionistic and connected to real world science when it comes to the mechanisms. Captain Kirk and Gandalf could get from point A to point B, but the mechanisms and explanation is vastly different. Right? And that's why you could kind of accept Captain Kirk getting from point A to point B, but you won't accept Gandalf getting from point A to point B instantly, or whatever, right? And that's the thing with this, is that this does that. It does a lot of sci-fi elements, but it feels so soft and airy-fairy that I couldn't appreciate it as a sci-fi fan. Right.
Well, I was actually wondering how the sci-fi logic of it would have worked out for you if that's the problem, because it was too complex or what.
Right, that's the problem. So once you invoke quantum, you can real airy-fairy bullshitty thing. But you see, in the case of Annihilation, you can make it work much, much better in the concept of is emotions and what it is being tapped into. Whilst with this, because it had catered to children, and it's not particularly deep or dark subject matter, but it's dark subject matter in its own sense of the whole emotional self-esteem stuff. But in this case, because nothing disconnects to anything else, it doesn't work that well. Right, in my opinion.
I'll share my thoughts on that later on, but continue.
And so that just my quick 2 cents on the film in that sense. And another problem is that because there's a lot of kids working, you can really corral them properly and get them to sit and work out the scene properly. Like, the child acting is solid in this. The child acting is solid in this, but you could tell it's to corral children. You could tell the director she had a problem.
I'll talk about the kids in this show too, but
overall, the girl who played Mrs. Witch, I think, Oprah, pretty good. Reese Witherspoon is okay. Kimmy Keenan is okay, but it's just like they're just there. I didn't really get them. Okay, the movie and it's funny and it's clever or anything like that. They had some good lines. This fella had some nice moments in it. Zach Galifianakis, like, okay, he in this. My boy, what call him?
Michael Pena. Yeah, he was in this.
Michael Pena, right? He was in this. Like, all right, cool. That's him. All right, nice. Yeah. I had fun with that, but I couldn't really get into this one, to tell you the truth. A lot of it falls flat. It's visually stunning, but that was John Carter had that too, and it still just didn't pace and gel together the way it could have. I have no idea how I'm gonna fix it because I don't know the cost, the source material for this at all. So I couldn't see how I'm gonna fix this or what I'm gonna do to change this, that, or the other. It's just something that people have to be into or not. Right. And I'll admit I'm not the person for this, but at the same time I couldn't get you still needed a workable logic to everything. Sorry. That's my last point on that.
Alright, so jumping into my review now. So let me get the good out of the way, right? So first off, there are some gorgeous looking shots. I will not lie. There are some gorgeous, beautiful visuals, bordering on psychedelic, which I'll mention before I get to the rated, right? Some really beautiful, gorgeous looking shots, some visual eye candy, right? Um, Acting for the most part is especially from the adults. I'll talk about the kids in a bit, but the adults, I thought they didn't really bring their A game, but they did what they were supposed to do. Like case
Right.
in point, Mindy Kaling, for example, right, who was just like one of the weirdest characters I've seen in the show. She plays Mrs. Who, and
Yeah.
how she talks, basically she talks in references, right? So she will say the reference, she will name the person who said the reference and where that person is from. She had me at that Outcast reference. So
You're right.
when I
Yeah.
heard
Yeah.
that, I was like, "Wow, okay, okay." I actually laughed at that.
It's
I
yeah.
actually laughed at that.
It has a lot of cool and clever ideas in it. It's not to say that it's a complete mess or anything like
Yeah.
that, but it doesn't gel.
Yeah. So
Right.
it was cool the first time, first few times that she did it. Like I didn't realize that it was that she was doing. But then she started to do it again and again, and I was like, okay, stop it, stop it, stop it. And then fortunately enough, she does stop it. I was like, okay, I kind of miss the references here though, so it's kind of
Right.
weird with her character. Reese Witherspoon, she's very animated. She's very, very light-hearted, very bubbly. A little too much, almost like she sniffed some glue, But
Right.
I guess that's what the character is. Who else? Oprah. I mean, she is the wise one, of course. Like I was just picturing Gaia from Captain Planet. Haha.
Right.
Right. So she kind of comes off like that. The guide. The spiritual guru. Telling them about the mission and all that kind of stuff. Somebody who you could rely on. Basically, even when she kind of talks in riddles, like don't forget, you have to do this. It's like, come on,
Right.
wait does you want me to do? It's like, let's remember what I said. All that kind of stuff. Storm Reed. I thought that for what she was given, I thought that she did an okay job. She was good on screen. She has on screen presence, I would say, and I expect her to do more work, man, in the near future. I hope that that she does grow over time as an actress and become better and better, and of course get better roles. You know what I mean? So yeah, sky's the limit for her. I thought that she did a decent job. Zach Galifianakis. I was going to
Right.
get that surname wrong. Yeah, I thought that his side character was pretty good as well. I didn't see him coming. I didn't see that coming out. Didn't see that one coming. Michael Pena
Right.
was pretty good as well. And some of the other leads as well were decent. I saw Andrew Holland was there. Who was also in Selma, by the way. He was, I think he was one of the, he was the principal actually in the school that Storm's character Meg attends, right? And now we're gonna get to the bad boy. Let me just get the biggest bad out of the way. Derek McCabe,
Right.
who plays Charles Wallace Murray. I'm not knocking him down as an actor. I mean, the kid is young, right? Kid is 9, right? So I can't knock him down for his performance. But that character of Charles Wallace, every time that character spoke,
Yeah.
I was like, fuck Charles Wallace shit. Seriously. I hated this character. From the
Yeah.
moment that character show up, because he is the adopted he is the adopted son of Meg's mother and the father who disappeared actually, right? So right after, so sorry, actually before he disappeared, they adopted him, right? And him as a Chris Pine is the stepfather of Meg, in case you didn't know, right? So
Right.
as soon as that guy came in and started speaking, I was like, I hate this fella. For one thing, they try to do the young Sheldon approach, right? And by the way, I actually like young Sheldon. Some people will say is unnecessary spin-off of Big Bang Theory, but I really like the show. It's a nice little Wonder Years kind of thing, and it does develop Sheldon Cooper's character a lot more, so you would understand why he is the way he is, why he is so annoying, and stuff like that, right? But I thought that the guy, the kid who plays him, I think it's Ian Armitage. I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
He kind of act circles around this kid here.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that Derek didn't try. The man tried. But is the lines that they give this man to deliver and how he delivered them was just so cringeworthy. For one thing, how they set him up, they set up this kid who he's 9 and Storm in real life is she's 14, right? So they set up this kid to be like so uber smart and he knows so much and everything like that. Okay. If it's book sense and you read a lot of books, okay, fine. You could say what this thing is. But he just comes off like he just knows way too much more than everybody else does. Like for example, like when we see when we introduce to Mindy's character, right? It's like I know who she is and she's this character and so and
Right.
I know Reese Witherspoon's character and she's this and you know it's this and Oprah Winfrey, well she plays Mrs. Witch, WHICH by the way. At first I was thinking it's WITCH was actually WHICH, right? It's like she's Mrs. Witch. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like this man knows all these things, and in my head I ask myself, but how you know this stuff? Now you could argue, okay, maybe they came to him at a point in time and introduced themselves to him, but it's like you are speaking in a way like you know way too much, Jared. Like you know so much about everything. Like, and to me, I was wondering how and why. Why do you set up that?
Right.
And it just made him so annoying. The way how they delivered his lines was just so annoying, but it just got me. It just got to my nerves, Jared. And then something happens, well, around the second half of the film, whatever, where there's like this, where his character changes, like his character actually gets darker, actually. Um, and I felt that was like a nice little touch. So, because okay, so basically, what you didn't mention, Ricardo, is that the villain, well, actually, it's not really a villain.
Right.
It's a
evil,
force, basically.
Evil Cloud here.
Yeah, Evil
Galactus.
Cloud is Galactus once again, if you remember from Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. In this case, it's called the It, and I was thinking, yeah, everybody thought about it. Yeah, wait, this Pennywise again,
You know?
and that would have been a nice little time. It's like, oh, you know, Pennywise is part of this universe here, so this is have a Stephen King kind of thing. That would have been real cool. That would have been real cool. But unfortunately, we didn't get that. It's the It. It sounds corny, and the concept of it is rather corny, which I'll get into just now. But yeah, boy. So when his character changes, right, and it's like, okay, yeah, you have this kid, he's innocent, and then you sway him into the dark side and all of it like that. Okay, that's a nice little touch there, because of course, Meg is gonna be worried. You know, she wants to save her brother, all that kind of stuff. But then they had this man deliver more lines. And then he just had to be more theatrical than he was before. Like at first he was just this annoying little kid who just talked too much. But now they had to make him be all theatrical, like, you don't know me and all that kind of stuff. And it was just painful to watch. And I blame this on the script. I blame this on the directing. You know, no offense to Ava, but you know, they could have worked out that acting. You know, they shouldn't have made him really deliver those lines. They could have rewrote those lines for him instead of making it feel too forced, and that was the problem. It came off way too forced, right? Like, you know, even if it is in the context of the story, he is swayed by the dark side. Kids don't talk like that. Even if from the moment he's introduced in the story, kids don't talk like that. Why is he talking like this uber genius when he is not? And he doesn't even sound like one. He just sounds like this annoying kid who just watch way too much TV and assume he know how the world works. So yeah, he was like the major thing that I didn't like about the show. Second, the script itself. It's the dialogue was clunky, corny at times, cheesy at times. It kind of felt like, you know, they were trying to update the book itself. So characters, like, I'm not expecting realism in this, but some of the dialogue, especially from the kids in this, whether it's Storm Reed, whether it's Derek, there's another character by the name of Calvin, who's played by Levi Miller. He, you know, well, I felt that their lines in particular came off a little too cheesy. You know, it's like, we gotta go, and this and that and that. And the way how they had to kind of emote this, especially with Storm, though, because, while I do appreciate her as a up-and-coming actress, she has to learn a little bit more about emoting You know, she needs to improve on that a bit. There were moments where, you know, like when you're seeing all this fantastical stuff, expecting a kid to be amazed by this, but she's just watching this all doe-eyed, like, wow, okay, a giant size opera in my backyard. Wow, okay, wow, you know what I mean? And it just didn't feel real to me, that the way how she expressed that. But when she does, like, you know, sad moments, yeah, she could cry, yeah, but everything else was, you know, certain parts about her character, or the way how she expresses herself, you know, just needed some work. The dialogue, like I said, was clunky at times. Whether it was the kids themselves, especially Levi's lines, I felt came off really really clunky. Even worse with Derek, who plays Charles once again. I hate Charles Wallace, right? But some of the dialogue that the adults deliver. Chris
Right.
Pine does his best with the lines. I thought that he was decent in the film as well. Also, they try to make him out as the misunderstood scientist. You know, it's like, yeah, we could travel across the universe. We don't need spaceships. It's all in our mind. You know what I mean? And yeah, it kind of came off
Yeah.
a little cheesy. You know, like that.
That's the problem.
But I
That's the
got it.
problem. You need to explain that science better. Now, from what I understand, it
Yeah.
had some cut scenes that explain it a little better, but yeah, they take too long with that. So,
Right.
you need
I'll
to.
actually leave that science for last, right? I need to touch on that, right? So, but I'm moving quick. When they go into particular worlds, like I said, you know, visually it looks pretty good. You know, whether it's light and bright and, you know, fantastical, to some of the darker elements that you see later on. But, you know, and one particular world that I really like was the sort of suburbia world, where you see these kids. You saw it in the trailer, where they were bouncing on the balls, and they were doing it in time. Although when I looked
Yeah.
at it, I was like, yeah, they just looped that. They just literally looped those shots again and again.
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah.
what you all did there. Come on, yeah, right. But I love that scene actually. But still, you didn't really get enough of those worlds. You didn't get enough of the characters in those worlds. Like, for one thing, I would have loved to learn more about that housewife character in that world. Michael Pena's character, who just kind of comes and goes, and then how he's disposed of was just like, what? Why we're going
Yeah.
out here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, at least Zach gets some moment to shine, you know, a good while to shine, but not enough in my opinion. Because there was some stuff going on with him and Reese Witherspoon that they never really explore. It was just like they had a relationship, but they just didn't work out or whatever, you know. And ultimately, unfortunately, I have to say this. Well, when you really think about it, there was really nothing about those worlds that added to the story. Like, for one thing, when you were in the bright world with the flowers, the gossiping flowers, whatever it is, these flowers that just come to life, and then all of a sudden,
Right.
Reese turns into this giant, like, leaf creature that flies. It's like,
Right.
why exactly? Like, what was the point of all that, really? To have one of the characters almost fall to his own doom? You know what I mean? Like, what was the point of all that kind of stuff? Like, yes, it looks really gorgeous, but ultimately, when you think about it, there really wasn't anything to that scene at all, to that world. Like, what is the point of that? Like with Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
for example, yes, it's a journey similar to like that, but there were reasons why things happen. Like why they went, like when they went to one place to the next, there were reasons that added to the story. It's not just like, oh, here's visual eye candy for the kids, wow, you know what I mean? But then afterwards, it just kind of goes into another place. You're like, well, okay, so what was the point of that? So yeah, the script needed a lot of work with this one, but and I understand that they had to adapt it, like, you know, like I say with the Outcast reference here, but it kind of feels like taking dated material and trying desperately to update
So
it.
yeah. Yeah.
And,
As I
it
said,
just
yeah.
kind of falls
Again,
flat there.
John Carter all over again.
Yeah.
Not so much
Um,
John Carter things in this. It's like, oh, okay. And it's
Right.
Disney, and it's a certain money they spend.
Yeah. Couple of things before we get into Rita, right? So, the themes of it, right? Now, I really like the theme of, you know, light versus darkness. So, you know, the darkness being the it. But, you know, and, you know, it's a nice little theme for kids. You know, you've seen it hundreds of times already, which is another problem that I had with this film, right? Um, but the way how they set it up was pretty interesting, you know, the idea of the it, right? But
Yeah.
then is when they had to go into real life and explain, well, this is how the it integrates into our world, you know. So there's this one scene, and I was like almost close to smacking myself in the forehead, where you saw Meg's neighbor, the one who, well, basically it's established that she doesn't like her for some reason. She's always teasing her in school, right? So
Right.
there's this scene where you see her on a scale, and she's worried about her weight and all that kind of stuff. So they try to say that because of the it, she has self doubt. She's doubtful about who she is and how she looks like. She does not appreciate who she is, and that's a nice little tea for kids. But when you think about it, it's like, okay, but that's just how life is, though. You can't blame some kind of ethereal force on us feeling like we don't belong in our bodies. That's just who we are as human beings. And then they go into, oh well, it causes jealousy and it causes people to rob other people. It's all the hate, man. It's all the evil stuff. But that's not really evil, though. It's like
airy fairy stuff.
Like that's
Bad
not
vibes.
you know what I mean? Like that's not really a real pure definition of what evil is now, what darkness is. It's just
Right.
life basically. But for kids it's like, well, okay, I could get that. But for adults it's like, no, that's
So as I
that's,
say, that
that's not that.
the movie has a kind of working emotionality to it that's again really naive, but you could get why a kid might appreciate it. And it's again, I'm not sure how to read this, but it just feels so on average kind of feminine. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That not explaining anything particularly well, or they're not action oriented. It's just, well, this is how I feel, and a
Right.
lot of it is subtext for self esteem and how she'll operate in life.
Right.
I get it.
Right.
Like I could see a lot of kids enjoying this. Maybe I can see it like a cult classic. Maybe.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I'll
I
get
just
to the cult classic as well too. So just a few
Yeah.
more things. I'll run through them quickly, right? So on the subject of what you said about self esteem and stuff, right? I was really liking the idea of like what Oprah was telling Storm's character basically, that you have a purpose, you have a reason of being in this universe, in the world, in the universe. I like that
Yeah.
as a very powerful theme. But once again, it just kind of goes for like this basic cliche thing. It's like, it's part of you're part of the universe, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you think about it in relation to the science, because that whole thing that Chris Pine's characters explain is very complex stuff, right?
Yeah.
Too complex, way too complex for kids to understand. So for adult watch this, say you want to get enough for you to understand where they're coming from, and they don't even scratch the surface. It's just this fantastical concept, and I'm just supposed to buy into it. And they never really explore it as such. And like I say, I like the idea of telling someone that you have a purpose, do you have a reason to exist, not just in the world but in the universe. That's a really strong theme. But they never really go in depth. They never really explore it. And then when you compare that to this interesting this concept, I believe it's quantum physics, right?
Basically,
Yeah.
but that's the problem.
But-
It's instead of being proper quantum physics, it's more Deepak Chopra quantum physics.
Right. But
Yeah.
I don't know, but maybe in relation to the story or how it's adapted. But like, okay, ultimately this is for kids, right? It's for it's a family movie, right? Let's get out of the way. So why bring in this complex kind of scientific theory into it, unless you figure out a way to present it such a way that it makes sense in the story. It just kind of
Right.
feels like it's just there hovering over the entire movie, but they never really
Right.
delve deep into it. It's just there.
No, but that's the problem with that, is that it next to impossible to delve into it without making people eyes glaze over. No?
Yeah.
And again, this is quantum mechanics. Crap is the best way to like have a mechanism without a mechanism. Is the perfect, at least within storytelling, is the perfect semblance of magic and science.
Right.
Right? It's not science fiction where you can have a clear working causal mechanism within your story, but it's not magic either. Right? It's still, you can still say science without and have it be just straight up magic. Especially the way how the Chris Pine character exposes everything or explains everything. Like, yeah, this is complete. If you know who Deepak Chopra is, it's just total nonsense now. Well, the mind could do this, and again,
Yeah.
it's all of it is good vibrations now, which is sorry,
Good
I can't get into
vibrations,
that.
But that's just a couple more things, and then I'll wrap up, right? As you mentioned, Chris Pine himself, the third act itself, I felt was pretty weak. And reason being is because of the almost epic tone that this film kind of sets up, because it sets this high standard. It raises the bar so high, not just with visuals but with the storytelling and the characters and stuff like that. And you get this conclusion or this climax, which I get what they're going for, but once again it just kind of boils down to the simple concept that it's love, man. Love will triumph over everything. At the end of the day, it's about love. That's the main aspect about the universe. That's the missing key, man. It's about love. I like, that's not a strong enough team, Dread.
Yeah,
Unless you
gotta do
establish it a lot better, and I felt they didn't even do that. It's just like, well, we had to make it all nice and stuff, even though the moment is particularly dark in the film, but ultimately your highlight, your the biggest moment of your entire film boils down to love, to something so basic, so something so saccharine, you know what I mean? And to, you know what I mean, I guess the kids would be like, oh well, that's nice and everything, but to everybody else it's just like, ugh, come on, come on.
Yeah.
Right. The directing, I thought that the directing, like I said before, was decent for the most part, but there were a few moments that really took me out of it, and those
Yeah.
were in particular were like the early flashbacks with Gugu and Chris Pine's characters, where
Right.
it has this kind of handheld approach. It almost reminds me of like what they did with Man of Steel, basically the
Right.
flashback
Okay.
moments,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
handheld
Yeah. That's a good
approach.
point. Yeah.
The way how they kind of segued with certain voiceovers and stuff like that. It was like almost like you're watching a different film, like a more gritty, hands-on film, as opposed to the more clean Hollywood, stuff that they got with the rest of the film. That basically is
Yeah.
almost like two different styles being applied here, and it didn't really mesh properly. It felt like you were watching two different films. It's almost like the gritty stuff was like real PG-13 stuff, and the other stuff was like real, like your PG stuff that you expect with the show here. And last but not least, the music,
Right.
the use of music as well, because like there were some songs that you hear throughout the film. Like I heard Miguel Cia in it. I heard Demi Lovato's song. It's Demi Lovato and DJ Khaled, yes. So
Right.
when you see the end credits and the names, I was hearing his they didn't think I could make it. They thought I could fail, but I
Right.
believed in myself. I didn't listen to his song, right? But there's a video for it. I kind of don't want to say it because DJ Khaled's in it. But yeah, when I heard that, I chuckled to myself. I was like, well, oh gosh, you had to do that, Khaled. You had to, in a big budget Disney movie.
Yeah.
You had to do that.
Whatever.
They didn't want us
Right.
to fail, man. And I felt like how they use those songs, like you would actually hear the songs playing in certain moments, was a little too on the nose for me. Like there's one scene um, involving like some graphs, basically like some schematics basically being visualized in front of the main characters, and you're hearing this song playing, and it's like this big revelation. And they also do it where Chris Pine actually discovers the this universe outside of what we know, what we see with the
Right.
naked eye. And this is song playing, and I was like, okay, well, kind of
Yeah.
tone it
Don't
down
match.
a bit now. Like, okay,
Yeah.
we get it's a big
No, but the problem-
revelation,
the
but you
problem is
don't
that-
need to play that song to tell
But
me
the song choice,
it's a
the
big
song choice didn't match.
reveal.
Yeah, the song choice didn't even match tonally. So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it's true. Like it was real
So I did-
contemporary R&B
Yeah.
pop stuff, but it just
Exactly.
didn't work. It was like, okay, like I get like, okay, you have a diverse cast, you want to bring in some more, contemporary stuff, some more African American, R&B and stuff like that. But it
Yeah.
just felt a little too out of place in my opinion. You know,
Right.
like if this was just like a straight PG-13 movie with like a more edgy, more thematic stuff in it, I would understand that. But with something so childlike and stuff, it just didn't work for me. It was almost like trying to be Disney but without characters breaking out into song, basically. So that's how it felt like. I felt that in other words, the soundtrack, the music was a little too abrasive.
Right.
Like it's not just there to kind of play with my emotions. It should have just been there in the background, and not too much of it, not too prominent when it's being used. But yeah, all that aside, though, what I'll say ultimately, well, I agree with you, Ricardo. This
Right.
this is destined to be a cult classic. I see
I can
people.
see that happening.
Yeah, like this will be like if there are kids like children who love this film, who love the visuals, who love the main characters, who love the mystical women and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I see them. I see that they will go back and watch this film again and again. I do see families watching this film and enjoying it for what it is and going back to it. So it has
Right.
that longevity. But because of them psychedelic visuals, and there are some psychedelic visuals in this. There's even one scene in particular, you see it in the trailer, where I was like, but this is Holy Mountain though.
Right.
It's
right.
like they use
A
the
couple
set of
moments,
Holy
yeah.
Mountain, but that's not with the more rainbow-esque visuals. It's more like one color here, one color there, and it kind of merges in a nice little shot. I like that. That was nice. But I was getting a Holy Mountain vibe there. But I was sorry, but I see some people, popping some pills and getting high to the shit though. I see that, getting some hallucinogens and watching this thing for 420 or something. I do see people, getting high to this. It'd be even more ironic if it's the kids who grew up on this movie. That'll be really funny, right? But overall, I see the ambition. I see where not just Disney but Ava and the team involved were going for, right? They really wanted to make this larger than life, this really grandiose version of this beloved story. I get that. And while I can't say, oh well, it deviated from the book, I haven't read the book, right? You haven't read the book neither, Ricardo, right? I would love to one day. But to me though, it's just them setting this high bar, but just unfortunately missing it. It's just a lot going on, whether it's the visuals, whether it's the storytelling, whether it's the themes, but it just kind of loses focus a lot. It's just tonally uneven, whether it's, like I said, the use of music or the visuals themselves. Because, there are some gorgeous visuals here, but then in the latter half, I'll confess, while it does get darker, I appreciate that. It's like your generic, basic dark stuff. Like if you've seen CG stuff in movies over the past, 5 years, you would watch the visuals in the second. I would be like, this does nothing for me. This does absolutely nothing for me. And even the visuals themselves, like in that same part that I mentioned, doesn't really add up to anything. It's just flashy visuals, but what does it really add up to? And that's the main thing I got with this movie. It's just a lot of ideas, a lot of thematic ideas, a lot of visual ideas, a lot of well, not so much philosophical, but a lot of emotional ideas, but they don't add to anything. They don't come up to a complete whole. It's just different things that kind of just there because, I don't know, maybe it's just Disney just using the little marketing, little, schematics and saying, okay, well, we add these visuals here, we add this here, we add this song here, and we'll get, you'll draw emotion out of the viewers. But ultimately, it just needed a bigger focus instead of just reason this by. It just needed to come together to something more cohesive instead of just unevenness throughout. Everything.
This doesn't gel together at all, and for me at all in that sense.
And I really wanted to like this film, because I really wanted to.
I was largely nonplussed about the film, but I don't really care either way. But it was just, I want to see how how you make it work in that sense in the long run, but we'll find out.
And last before we get to rating, this movie could have been longer. And I don't know if they cut stuff out, but an hour and 49 minutes total was just not enough for this show. But this could have been, like, it could have added like a little 50 minutes more, expand the world more, expand the characters more, just do more, instead of just giving us ideas and glimpses and just like hodgepodge of all these things together, expecting us to care about it when it ends, But rating wise, what would you give a Wrinkle in Time?
Alright, so I was gonna give this just a straight CC8. Not particularly low or higher. Just a straight CC8 because I didn't completely hate this. It had some ideas. It needed to put, as I say, it jumped from A to G to L to T, then to Z. And I would prefer it if you spell out things a little better. To me, that was the main problem with it. It looked good. It was cool. But you had to, when you're doing the emotions connected to quantum mechanics, sci-fi stuff, you have to connect that and have it make some sense. I think it had some deleted scenes from what I understand to have it make a little more sense. But the problem is that it'll just be end up as a technobabble and Matt gobbledygook and Mattiness, and that's your problem.
Right.
Acting, as I say, the little kid was annoying. Most of the kids were okay, but that little boy, he was terrible. And then the finale, with the big finale, I didn't really like, because he was so commanding. The finale, he kind of took me out of it. Again, the big actors, Oprah was fine. Mindy Kaling, again, what she was doing, that was kind of cool. But I just couldn't get into this.
When you think about it, well, until it got annoying, but
Right, but I couldn't get into this overall. Again, I know it's not for me, but overall, I just this one I just give a straight CC8. Go see it. It's still worth money, I suppose. But either overall, just tell people to skip it.
All right. Well, for me, I will give this a strong 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Go see it if you really want to. I mean, if that's your cup of tea, if you like just fantasy worlds with just a lot of fantasy stuff going on, I don't really understand the fantasy of it, but you just love to see fantasy, then you'll enjoy it. If you're curious to see how the diverse cast works there, if you're just glad to see that kind of stuff, then go see it, support it, do what you want. But for me though, like just I agree with you, it just was just uneven throughout. This needed a broader focus. And I now see, just thinking about it now, it really does explain why they say this book, while the book itself is unfilmable, because there are a lot. I'm not see, like I say, I can't say for sure. I haven't read the book. I don't know if the quantum theory in it, or quantum physics or whatever, is explained properly in the book.
It's dated sci-fi again, but much
Yeah.
like with John Carter. Remember, John Carter had a sort of bullshit about Mars that's not true.
Yeah.
Because it was written back then. Same thing with her and quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics was well established and discovered, but nobody fully understood it. So when she wrote it, it was like, most sci-fi authors would have just BS about it, and they didn't translate that now. By now, we know most of the bunk about quantum mechanics. It's just a sort of, BS, frankly. As I say, it's real Deepak Chopra stuff.
Yeah,
So,
but
yeah.
I understand, but for me, it just should have made a lot more sense, especially given the audience that they targeted. Because I don't even think kids will understand what Chris Pine was talking about at all. It's just take us to the fantasy world now, you know what I mean? And even when you're there, it's just a lot of like flash, but there's just no substance to it. It's just, ooh, look at flashy visuals, and then ultimately, since you're setting up this grand tone and this whole idea of we all belong in this universe and we all have relevance, and then to just kind of come and just make it so basic and it's about love, man, all that kind of stuff. It's just a turn off to me. And yeah, like I said before, I hate that kid. I hate that kid, not the actor, but just that character himself. I hate that dude. But I still give this a 2.5 out of 5. It has its audience. I mean, if you like that kind of stuff, go right ahead. You'll actually like it more than us. Like I said, I do see this being a cult classic. Some people might look at it years after and say, well, we didn't understand before, but it has movies like that where it's like we did get then, but now we kind of understand what they're getting at. Okay, but it's still a noble film in my opinion. They really just set that bar really high, but unfortunately, just missed that mark. But yeah, for what it's worth, if you want to see it, see it. If you don't want to see it, skip it.
Cool.
Alright, so with all that being said, Ricardo, where can we find you online?
Passat, RMEDDY. That's at RMEDdy on Twitter. And then you can just type in Ricardo Medina on Facebook, and you could find me right there.
Alright, you could also find me on Twitter as well. Look for Legally Black MJB. MJB are in capital letters. You could also find me on Facebook. Just look for my name, Matthew Bailey, along with a Legally Black blog official fan base, where you find the link to this podcast, as well as the others that we've done over the past couple of years. Also, you could find me on Instagram. Just look for Matthew Bailey Reviews. That handle might change sometime this year. I'm not too sure. But at the moment, it's Matthew Bailey Reviews. And also, like I mentioned in the last episode, Stardust. I'm also on Stardust as well. I actually put up a full Stardust video. And I realize it's really a cool thing you could actually share on Twitter and Facebook. But I'm more rather share it on Twitter. But I did a review, a minute-long review. God, that was hard. Well, at least my thoughts on Annihilation, so you can check that out. And also check out the Stardust app. It's pretty cool. It's just you being able to do 1 minute reviews, which is easy for some people, but for me it's kind of difficult. But I'll get the hang of it. But yeah, it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. Yeah, you'll like it.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Right, so stuff to look forward to before we part ways. For one thing, Tomb Raider is coming out this weekly time is recording. So I'm going to make the effort to beat the Tomb Raider game, even though right now, at least we discussed it before we started the episode here. I reached a point where I kind of stuck. I don't know how to get out of this one. Now I had to look for some cheat codes to get myself some to get some arrows, basically, to get from point A to point B. But I mean, I'm not expecting miracles out of this Tomb Raider movie, but I just want it to be entertaining.
Cool.
And same thing I could say also too for the Pacific Rim Uprising.
Right.
Not expecting
pretty
this to be
excited for this
better
one.
than the original one. I know it's not going to be better at all, but I just want it to be entertaining. Sure, it looks more like a Saturday morning cartoon like the last one.
Right.
But I just hope.
Yeah, this looking like a 40X run for me.
That would actually be pretty good though. You lucky.
That's the idea for me. That's the idea for me. Explore 40X run.
Well,
Right, so I can't see myself caring about like just seeing it normal. Just 40x, whatever.
right. Well, if you do check it out there, yeah, just let me know how it was. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. So once again, guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever this is. This was Matthew Bailey and
Medina.
And we are signing off from another episode of Bears Beats and Bailey. So until the next one, take care. And like I said before, fuck Charles Wallace. All right, take care. Peace.